You learned a few yogas, you understand basic dashas, you can identify good and bad placements, and then you start advising. That's exactly where the danger begins. Because half learned astrology doesn't just confuse charts, it can damage real lives. There is something uniquely risky about astrology. If you half learn painting, you produce an average painting. If you half learn music, you play imperfect notes. But if you half learn astrology, you influence decisions, marriage decisions, career shifts, financial risks, emotional direction, and suddenly incomplete understanding becomes dangerous. Most learners reach a stage where they think, I know the basics, I can interpret. You recognize exaltations, you have memorized a few combinations, you can identify malefics and benefics, and that feels like competence. But recognition is not judgment, and astrology is not a checklist system. It's contextual synthesis. Ask yourself something uncomfortable. If someone made a life decision purely based on your current interpretation skills, would you feel fully confident or slightly nervous? If there is even mild hesitation, that hesitation matters. Don't ignore it. Ask this that why half knowledge is especially risky in astrology. Because astrology rewards surface confidence. You can sound convincing, you can speak with authority, you can quote classical rules, and most people won't question you. But astrology is not about sounding right, it's about being responsible. A single overconfident statement can create fear, it can delay opportunities, it can break trust, reinforce limiting beliefs, and once planted, those seeds are hard to remove. There is this oversimplification trap. Half learned astrology loves simplification. Saturn in the 7th, delayed marriage. Mars in the 8th, trouble. Rahu in the 10th, obsession with career. But real charts are layered. What sign? What aspects? What dignity? Which dasha? What overall theme? Without depth, you reduce complexity into slogans. And life does not operate in slogans. There are real world consequences. Imagine you tell someone that you should avoid this marriage. The chart is weak. Now imagine 5 years later, the relationship would have matured beautifully if handled with awareness. Or the second example is that you tell someone this is not a good period to start anything, and they miss an opportunity that would have transformed their trajectory altogether. Astrology doesn't just predict events, it influences psychology, and psychology shapes decisions. If you are serious about practicing astrology, you must move beyond surface rules. Structured learning is not about collecting techniques, it's about developing judgment. Our level 1 and level 2 programs are designed to prevent exactly this kind of half confidence. Because it's better to say, I am still learning, than to confidently misguide someone. Details of the levels are of the courses are in the description, but keep listening, this part is important. Half knowledge creates loud confidence. Deep knowledge creates quiet caution. When you truly understand chart complexity, you hesitate before making absolute statements. You say, based on current factors. There are tendencies, not guarantees. This requires context. So you say all these things. That caution is maturity. And maturity protects both you and the person in front of you. There is also another layer. Half learned astrology feeds ego. You feel powerful. You can see what others cannot. You feel ahead. But power without depth is unstable. The more complex charts you encounter, the more your superficial certainty collapses. And that collapse can be humiliating. Better to build slowly than to fall publicly. Right now, you have a choice. Stay in the comfort zone of partial understanding or commit to real depth. If you are not ready to guide others responsibly, that's okay. But don't pretend you are. If you are ready to build competence, not just vocabulary, then structured progression is necessary. Enrollment is open, but enroll only if you are willing to move from surface confidence to disciplined mastery. There is that silent damage of half knowledge that you must understand. And this is something that most people don't talk about. Half-learned astrology doesn't just affect others, it affects you. When predictions fail, your confidence shakes. When interpretations don't hold, self-doubt creeps in. You start questioning the system itself, but often the system was not weak, the understanding was incomplete. Here is the long-term scenario. 5 years from now, there could be two possibilities. Number one is that you continue operating with partial knowledge, you remain inconsistent, some calls right, some wrong, and then confidence is unstable. The second option is you commit to disciplined depth, you slow down, you refine judgment, you build reliability. The difference is not talent, it's seriousness. Astrology is not a hobby. When lives are involved, it cannot be the hobby. It can start as curiosity, but the moment you advise someone, it becomes responsibility. And responsibility demands preparation. You would not trust a half-trained surgeon. You would not trust a half-trained pilot. Then why treat astrology differently? When emotional and financial consequences are involved, it's a people's life. Today, make one decision. If you are still learning, say it openly. There is strength in that honesty. If you want to guide others, build the depth required. Comment below, I choose confidence over confidence. And if you are ready to transition from half knowledge to disciplined clarity, take the next step. Because half learned astrology doesn't just limit your growth, it can quietly shape and sometimes ruin real life decisions.